Welcome everyone, my name's Sylph and this is my attempt to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon HeartGold with only Bug-type Pokemon. The full rule set for this run is in the description, but basically only the first Bug-type encounter in each route or area can be caught. If a Pokemon faints, it must be permanently boxed, no items except held items in battle, hardy Pokemon levels are limited to the next gym leader or Elite Four's ace, and finally the battle mode must be put on set at all times. HeartGold and Soul Silver's situation in terms of bug types is quite interesting, with 15 total fully evolved bug types in the Johto region. However, for the purposes of our playthrough, we have some limitations. First, Ledian is a Soul Silver exclusive, so we can't catch it. Scizor is also only available through trade evolution, and our rules don't allow us to connect to other games, so the best we can get there is Scyther. 3 of these Pokemon, Surskit, Volbeat, and Illumise, are only available in the Johto Safari Zone. Not only does the Safari Zone open up to us late game, but we can only get one encounter from it as per the rules, and to get the earliest available one, Surskit, it takes 6 real-time days, and we get these videos up weekly, so likely no Safari Zone encounter for us. Like the Safari Zone, there are other areas in the game that have multiple of these bug types, but we can only catch one of course. In total, we're left with 12 possibilities, but a maximum of 9 that we can actually catch as per our rules. Bug types are also quite weak overall, having the lowest average base stat totals out of any type in the game, so this could get really crazy really quickly. Let's do this. For our starter, I decided to pick one that I don't often choose, Cyndaquil. This will give our rival a Totodile, which I feel is a nice middle ground for bug types. We're not weak to it like we would be against Cyndaquil, but we're also not super effective against it like Chikorita. It's a fair choice. Oh, and by give our rival a Totodile, I mean he's gonna punch us in the mouth, steal Totodile, and kill 3 lab assistants in the process, smack us around in a vicious battle, and have us framed for the crime and pursued by the police. Great. Off to a nice start here in the pleasant Johto region. On Route 29, we have our first act of kindness, or just basic human decency, as Lyra gives us some Pokeballs, meaning the run has officially begun. Our first encounter comes in the form of Route 31, which gives us access to Caterpie. We catch one and name it Flutter. Flutter ends up having a bold nature, plus defense and minus attack, which isn't bad at all. At this point, we're forced to deposit Cyndaquil. See you in Legends Arceus, my dude. Flutter, it's just you and me now. Since Flutter is so weak at the moment, we're forced to grind up against level 2 Pidgeys, which isn't a bad thing as they give speed EVs, which are actually going to be very necessary for what we have upcoming. After a ton of grinding, we get to level 7, and Flutter evolves into a solid-looking Metapod, and with the higher defense, I'm now willing to take on some of the trainers. The route goes smoothly, and we make it to Violet City, where we can take on the Sprout Tower. During our battles, Metapod hits level 10, where he evolves into Butterfree. Thank God for bug types having early evolutions. Against the Elder, Flutter hits level 12, where he learns Stun Spore and Sleep Powder, 2 crucial developments for sure. Since the current level cap is 13, it's time to hit up the Violet City Gym. Having confusion on Flutter makes the gym trainers possible, as bug or flying moves likely wouldn't do the trick. The second trainer makes the case that becoming a flying trainer isn't easy, and there are people who deserve the title more than me since they train night and day. I was wondering what he was going on about, but then I realized technically we do have a flying type. Alright, fine. Talk shit about me all you want. With the trainers taken care of, it's time for something scary. Falkner, the flying type gym leader. We can only get Butterfree up to this point, which is frightening since he's weak to everything. Falkner starts with a Pidgey and I immediately hit it with Sleep Powder. Normally, Sleep Powder is not great as it has 75% accuracy, however Flutter has the Compound Eyes ability which increases its accuracy by 1.3 times, meaning it gets bumped up to 97.5%. Unfortunately, Pidgey wakes up on the second turn and hits us with Tackle, but it's an easy KO with a second Confusion. Now this is what I was worried about all along, Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto's base speed is 71 while Butterfree's is 70. However, if you'll remember, I grinded up against Pidgeys like crazy for those speed EVs and also made sure that we level up mid-battle too, as that's allowed in hardcore Nuzlocke, you just have to be at or below the level cap when the battle starts, which should hopefully do the trick. And it does. We put the Pidgeotto to sleep immediately and start hitting it with Confusion. On the third turn, while in the red, it wakes up and hits us with Gust to a bit above half, but then we take it out. Whew. Compound Eyes, Sleep Powder, and those speed EVs definitely made that battle possible. Our next gym is in Azalea Town, and because of the long stretch combined with the gym trainers, Butterfree would definitely go past the level 17 cap. Thankfully, we have a saving grace in the form of being able to go ahead to the Ilex Forest before the gym where we can find a new encounter, Paris. We catch one and name it Critter, and it turns out it has a modest nature. Son of a... plus special attack and minus attack. Arguably the very worst we could have gotten, and that's especially not good because Parasect actually offers us the secondary grass typing, which could be vital. Realizing our predicament, I decide to grind Paras up against Bellsprout on Route 31 for some attack EVs until level 13. One cool thing is that we can get both the Bullet Seed TM and the Miracle Seed to boost grass type moves, which might be useful later since Paras is very limited for physical grass moves. The Azalea Gym is also a scary one as bug types resist our moves and are super effective against Paras too. We have one scary encounter with a Beedrill, but the rest of the trainers go pretty smoothly, and Butterfree learns Gust at level 16, which is very fortunate it gets it before the level cap. With that, it's time for another scary gym leader, Bugsy. Bugsy actually leads with his ace, a level 17 Scyther which thankfully doesn't have any stab flying moves, but with Technician, Quick Attack, Leer, U-Turn, and Focus Energy along with a Sigisberry, it's a scary threat regardless. I lead with Flutter and go for Sleep Powder immediately. He hits us with a Quick Attack though, and it crits, but we survive on 18 HP before putting it to sleep. My god. Stab super effective Gust does about 1/3 damage, and I'm really terrified. This thing needs to stay asleep. After the next hit, its Citrus Berry activates, but we're getting a bit of recovery from our Shell Bell. Bugsy then uses a Super Potion after the next hit, which is not good, but Scyther stays asleep. Now here, I knew this was the 5th turn and that he'd wake up. We could probably survive a Quick Attack, but Gust wouldn't KO from this range, and then we get outsped and taken out on the next turn. So I had to risk it and go for the preemptive Sleep Powder while it was technically already asleep. It looks ridiculous on the surface, but it wakes up and just goes for Focus Energy here, and the Sleep Powder does connect. With a higher critical hit ratio, another Quick Attack could have very well taken us out, but he stays asleep for the next turn and we can KO it. Man, that was so dangerous. With the Scyther gone, Bugsy just has a Metapod and Kakuna left, and a combination of Critter and Flutter are able to take them down, although Flutter did get taken down to 15 HP due to poison. Second gym badge is in the books. After the second badge, the game really starts to open up for us, but before that we have a rival battle against Silver. He leads with Ghastly as I go for Butterfree. Flutter is a great lead choice here as it's able to one-hit KO the Ghastly with Confusion. We also get massive damage on his Zubat, but then it confuses us with Supersonic. We break through to take it out with Confusion though. Croconaw comes in next, and since Butterfree is confused, it's quite risky to keep him out there, so I switch into Paras, who not only resists water moves and has the super effective Bullet Seed and Miracle Seed combo, but would also benefit from the attack EVs anyway. Croconaw just uses Scary Face on the switch, then we hit him hard with Bullet Seed to about 1/3 after one of the hits gets a crit. Guess Critter's living up to his name after all. Croconaw just spams Scary Face again, and our next Bullet Seed only hits twice to bring him super low in the red. He then goes for Bite, which also flinches us. But it only does 1/3, so I go for Bullet Seed again for the easy KO. He hits us with Bite and critical hit, and it does enough to KO us. I reviewed the calcs after this, and it turns out he does just enough. I mean down to the singular HP point to KO with a crit from there. A consecutive flinch, then crit for the precise KO. I thought we had that easily, but nope. How ironic is it that Critter gets a crit and then gets crit? Thankfully, Flutter is able to finish off the job. That was an unfortunate loss, but in some good news, after this fight the game starts really opening up for us, and it's for one reason in particular. Headbutt. This dude in the Ilex Forest, well, first of all, holy shit. He rocks the entire forest by smashing his head off of a tree. He's about as hard-headed as my ex-girlfriend. But more importantly, he's able to teach Pokemon Headbutt, which opens up a world of encounters for us. All we have to do is use Headbutt on a tree, and bam, a Pokemon pops out. Okay, or not. Our first Headbutt encounter is on Route 29, a Spinarak, which we catch and nickname Jeffrey. Jeffrey ends up having a quirky nature, which is neutral. Our next encounter is a Pokemon that I think might be the key to being able to complete the next gym at all, Heracross. Heracross can only be found on Route 33, and it's a 30% chance to be found, but only on certain random trees. Why must Heracross always be so difficult to find? After 122 headbutts, we finally find one and successfully catch it and name it Atlas. Atlas has a relaxed nature plus defense and minus speed, which is not great. Heracross relies pretty strongly on its speed, but hey, at least we got it. Our final headbutt encounter is ahead on Route 34, and it's a Pineco, which took 37 headbutts to find. We nickname it Walnut and find out that it has a lax nature. The plus defense is great, but the minus special defense is risky as Fortress's special defense is already so low, so we'll have to be careful. At least it gives us a strong defensive presence. With that, we arrive in Goldenrod City, and I make a quick stop to the department store to pick up a few TMs like Reflect and Light Screen, which could be useful later on. There's also a draw center in here, which offers some great different prizes every day, such as TMs and berries too, which are hard to come by in HeartGold and Soul Silver. Since it's Monday, I was able to get the Shadow Claw TM, which can be found a bit later on Route 42 as well, but could be useful early on too. On the main floor, Whitney is trying to get a radio card by completing the quiz, and she's complaining that she just can't do it. Whitney, they're literally yes or no questions. If you get one wrong, just redo it and answer the other option. All my anger at the years of torture she's put me through is coming out. I apologize. But she's also stupid as f***. It's time for the Goldenrod City Gym. Now, I don't need to elaborate much on this one, do I? Miltank? Just Miltank. I know we can't take this gym lightly, so I train up all of our Pokemon to the max level cap and go for it. Thankfully, Heracross learns Brick Break right at the level cap, level 19, which I'm thinking is a great answer. Usually the level cap is really unfortunate in terms of blocking evolutions and good moves or whatnot, but this is a golden opportunity. She leads with a Clefairy, which can be quite a nuisance with Cute Charm and Metronome, but Heracross is an absolute beast and one-hit KOs it with super effective Stab Brick Break. In comes Miltank, which goes for Stomp right away and flinches us. Goodness gracious. She hits us again to about half, and we flinch again. Dear Lord. She then goes for Attract, but we break through to hit it with Brick Break, but it survives with a quarter health left. She then hits us with Stomp to 18 HP, and we flinch yet again. How? Actually, how? At this point, we could definitely switch into Pineco, but the problem is it could use Milk Drink, at which point we'd be completely toast as we can't do much damage with anything but Heracross. I have to go for it. Stomp hits us. We survive on just 3 HP, don't flinch this time, don't get attracted either, and can take it out. Unbelievable. How this battle consistently manages to be difficult no matter even if you have a Brick Break Heracross, I have no idea. But we barely make it through with no deaths. After this, we're able to head to Route 35 for yet another encounter, this time Yanma. But it just so happens to have a 1% encounter rate, so this takes a while. There sure are a lot of bug encounters early on in this game, yes, but they sure don't make them easy. After 15 minutes, we find one, and I noticed during the battle that it has speed boost. Oh my god. I use a fastball, which is fantastic since it operates better the faster the Pokemon is, and it doesn't catch. Oh come on, you're fast as boy. Once we catch it, we name it Flighty. Get it, since it wouldn't be caught. And it has a gentle nature, plus special defense and minus defense. Not great, but with speed boost, it's a great addition to our team. Moving north, we hit the national park, but unfortunately we can't catch anything here yet because all the new encounters that would be here are only here during the bug catching contest, which only takes place on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Since I'm playing on a Monday, we'll have to come back tomorrow. Ever since I first saw Sudowoodo, I've had this faint sense that it's really familiar somehow, but I just couldn't place it. The goofy dancing, the crazy demeanor, the scrawny, bumbling fool presence that's just stuck there in the way of everything. It wasn't until this playthrough, decades later, that I finally figured out who it was. My grandmother. Speaking of my grandmother, Spinarak ends up evolving into Ariados while grinding on Route 38. This is going to be key for our Ghost-type gym challenge coming up soon. Man, totally random, but look how cool Yanma looks while following us. That's my boy. Speaking of which, Yanma is absolutely terrible right now. It learns like nothing at all besides Quick Attack, and it's supposed to be a special attacker. Ugh. While attempting to enter the Ecruteak gym, this man just shoves me out. I'm sorry, you called me a what now? Feeling rejected, I also try to enter this building, and this dude says, "You'll have to leave." I'm really not feeling welcome in this city. In the Burn Tower, we have another rival battle against Silver, and boy am I ever looking forward to paying him back after what he did to Critter. His Ghastly survives Butterfree's confusion on like negative HP and confuses us with Supersonic, but we take it out on the next turn. Magnemite comes in and I switch into Atlas, who gets hit by Thundershock and paralyzed, and then the Magnemite uses Supersonic to confuse us. Despite all of that, Atlas breaks through and KOs it with Brick Break. Zubat comes in next, so I'm forced to switch back into Flutter. Wing Attack does just under half. We bring him into the red with Confusion, then survive another Wing Attack on 14 HP to take it out. Croconaw is Silver's last Pokemon, and with 2 Pokemon really weak, I go into Walnut, who's able to whittle it down with Bug Bite for the KO due to his great defenses. A tough battle for sure, but we managed it quite well. With that, it's time for the Ghost-type Ecruteak City Gym. Ghost-types resist bug moves, but with a combination of Double Team, Foresight to hit Ghost-types with normal moves, and Quick Attack, Flighty can actually do quite reasonably well here, which is great for getting him special attack EVs. It's time for Gym Leader Morty, who is always a tough battle and honestly rivals Whitney in annoyance in my opinion. We do have a secret weapon though. Before the battle, he says, "I have secretly trained here all my life." My dude, you're literally the famous gym leader of the town. Morty leads with Ghastly as we send out Flutter. Now that Flutter has super effective Psybeam, he's able to easily one-hit KO Ghastly. Gengar comes in next and goes for Hypnosis, but it misses, good old 60% accuracy, and we fire back with a 97.5% accuracy Sleep Powder to put it to sleep. How do you like that, Morty? Psybeam does over half, but its Citrus Berry activates. Another one brings it into the yellow, it wakes up and hits us with a Sucker Punch, but then we can take it down. Morty sends out his Haunter next, and it actually hits Hypnosis, which isn't great. However, we do have Ariados now, which has the Insomnia ability, meaning he can't get put to sleep. Now, Morty's level 21 Haunter pretty much has no attacking moves except ones that affect Pokemon during sleep, so I switch in Jeffrey, and he did indeed go for Dream Eater, which can't do anything. Jeffrey also has Priority Shadow Sneak, which does huge damage, and his Haunter then uses Curse to take itself out, but does about 17 HP damage on us. Morty's second Haunter comes in, and we hit it to about a third with Shadow Sneak, and it goes for Nightshade for 40 HP damage, then Curse brings us down to just 14 HP, but then Priority Shadow Sneak is able to take it out. Amazing. Ariados is such a fantastic counter for Morty's battle, which is otherwise a living nightmare. MVP for sure. While surfing on our way to Cianwood City, I ran into a trainer who has 2 Gyarados, which is absolutely terrifying, and I thought we'd definitely lose someone to them, but incredibly, Pineco saves us with Bide against the first one off of 7 HP, and Ariados gets a crit Shadow Sneak to take the second one out. Whew, that could have been bad. We arrive in Cianwood City, which is actually the location of our next encounter, weirdly enough. In one of the houses, this dude is scared of someone kidnapping his Shuckle, so he gives it to us. Seems logical. Now, Shuckle is interesting as his main form of attacking usually, Toxic, isn't learned by level up and can't be acquired in HeartGold until the post-game, so not quite sure what we're gonna do with him at the moment. The Cianwood City Gym is one that I was definitely feeling okay about. Our team either resists or quad resists the fighting type, and we have 2 flying types along with Heracross with Aerial Ace. We clear out the gym trainers with ease, and I grind up a bit to get our party to about level 28. The level cap is level 31, but we can't go up too high as this part of the game is kinda strange. 2 gyms after this one, all the way in Mahogany Town, the level cap is still 34, so we have to be cautious about that. It's time for Gym Leader Chuck himself, who starts off with a Primeape and only has 2 Pokemon. As much as it might seem like a good idea to lead with Butterfree, his Primeape has 4 times effective Rock Slide, so I opt for Heracross instead, who I put an Oranberry on to help us out. His Primeape uses Double Team, another reason why Aerial Ace is a perfect option here as it isn't affected by evasion increases. We do over half, he hits us with Rock Slide, we don't flinch, and can take him out with another Aerial Ace. Solid. In comes Polywrath next, and we outspeed with Aerial Ace to do about a third, after which he goes for Body Slam to bring us a bit below half, but our Oranberry brings us back up. Aerial Ace then brings him to about a quarter, but its Citrus Berry activates, bringing it to about half, and Surf does big damage on us to just 21 HP. I can't KO from this range, so I'm forced to switch into Butterfree, who gets hit to just above half with Surf. Poliwrath outspeeds and hits us with another Surf to just 10 HP, and Psybeam is thankfully able to take it out with a crit on the next turn. If Psybeam didn't quite KO, we still had options like Priority from Ariados, but man oh man, that was way more challenging than I thought it might be, and we could have had worse luck too, like Body Slam Paralysis. Nonetheless, 5th gym badge down. While trying to save the damn Ampharos in the Olivine City Lighthouse, I'm literally locked out. Let me in, I'm trying to help you, what the f***? Let me in! Before battling Jasmine's Steel-type gym, I decide to grind to level 31. Jasmine's level cap is 35, but then again, the gym leader after her is 34, so I'm being careful. This is how this game gets you. While grinding, Pineco evolves into Fortress, whose newly attained Steel typing is fantastic for this gym. Now, I remembered in Gold and Silver that Jasmine's gym didn't have trainers, so I was kinda surprised when these people approached us, but on both occasions, they just kinda talk to you and let you pass. We got completely bamboozled, man. Jasmine herself has an interesting team, and she leads with Magnemite, so I lead with Heracross, who's able to one-hit KO it with Brick Break. Her second Magnemite then comes out, which suffers the same fate. Next comes the big boy Steelix. As much as a special move would help, Brick Break is still a good option, so I hit it for about a third as it uses Sandstorm. Our next Brick Break brings it to about a quarter health, but then its Citrus Berry activates. Thankfully, it misses its Iron Tail and we can hit it again, but it survives in the red and uses Iron Tail, which actually does bigger damage than I thought and gets the defense drop. Uh-oh. Knowing Jasmine will go for a Hyper Potion to restore it back to full, I go for Brick Break again. With about a quarter health remaining, I'm forced to switch, so I go into Walnut. I decide Bide is actually a workable option here, so we tank an Iron Tail, but then it goes for Screech to lower our defense. Bide brings it to below half, but I'm worried we won't survive 2 more Iron Tails, but I don't really have another option on our team, so I go for Bide again and cross my fingers. Thankfully, Steelix resets the Sandstorm on its first turn, then it uses Iron Tail to bring us to 28 HP, and our next Bide thankfully does the job. As it turns out, the defense drop actually helped us in a sense since we took more damage so we could return more damage. That Sandstorm turn was crucial though. I took a break after this gym and came back to the game the next day, meaning it's now Tuesday and the bug catching contest is on, so it's time for our second last encounter. Now since we've already caught Caterpie and we play with Species Claws, we have 4 possible encounters, something in the Beedrill line, Venonat, Pincer, or Scyther. Honestly, all 4 of these options are good additions to the team. I'm just hoping we don't get Venonat since we can get it later on, but the others are only available here. Without even encountering anything we already have, our first encounter ends up being a Pincer. Nice, I'm happy about that. It's not too often you get to use Pincer. It doesn't have a secondary type and kind of fulfills the same role as Heracross, but it's still a great addition to the team. We catch Pincer and name it Ruth, short for Ruthless. Ruth has a careful nature, plus special defense and minus special attack, which isn't bad. I replace Shuckle for now as he's not doing too much at the moment, let's be honest. After dealing with the red Gyarados and unfortunately not being allowed to catch it, as cool and as shiny as it may be, we encounter Lance for the first time, who's busy showing off how cool he is and whatnot. One interesting thing that some people might not know is that the red scale item you get from Gyarados can actually be traded to Mr. Pokemon for an experience share, which is helpful for leveling up our new encounters. After watching Lance have his Dragonite literally hyper beam a man, I'll never get over that, we make our way through Team Rocket's Mahogany base. Oh, and I also get punched in the mouth by Silver. Again. What is with all the violence in this game? They need to make this thing rated M, I swear. With the help of Lance's Dragonite, the Rocket executives are pretty easy, and it's time to head for our 7th badge. After defeating the gym trainers, I went back to the Lake of Rage to grind up near the level cap using Magikarp and Gyarados as they give speed and attack EVs, which are great for our Pokemon. While there, I actually found the Choice Specs item, which I forgot was here. That should definitely come in handy. Yanma also ends up learning Ancient Power, which means he officially evolves into a Yan Mega, which is pretty awesome. Remember how cool Yanma looked while following? Well, look at this, boys and girls. Badass. With our full team at level 33, I'm thinking that should be sufficient for the gym, and I can't take grinding anymore anyway. Price is an Ice-type gym leader, of course, which I'm thinking shouldn't be too much of a challenge for us, but we do have 2 flying types after all, so we should be a bit careful. He leads with Seal, and I lead with Pincer, who gets great damage off with X-Scissor, but then gets hit by Icy Wind, which lowers our speed. After Price heals Seal, we hit it 2 more times to take it out. Piloswine comes out, which is the perfect opportunity to try out Brick Break on Pincer, who recently learned it. It does over half, and then Piloswine's Citrus Berry activates to restore it to about 3/4, then it hits us really hard with Blizzard to bring us to 31 HP. Since the Citrus Berry restored its health, we can't KO from this range, so I'm forced to switch. I decide Fortress is our best bet since Steel-type resists Ice, and we get hit for about 1/4, but then he outspeeds us and hits us with Mud Bomb to 39 HP. Bug Bite does decent damage to below half, and now that he's using Mud Bomb, I can switch into Heracross. He instead decides to use Hail, in fact, which is fine with us. Heracross is then able to outspeed and take him out with Brick Break. Fortress was a great pivot there. Dugong comes out next, and Brick Break turns out to actually be a one-hit KO, which I wasn't quite expecting. A solid battle overall, and that is our 7th badge. It's time to hit up the Goldenrod Radio Tower, all sneakily in a rocket outfit, but Silver gets so frustrated that we're wearing one that he blows our cover. Wow, daddy issues much? The radio tower ends up being a huge challenge. We had so many close encounters I wasn't expecting between self-destructing Coughings, minimizing Mucks, and Golbats, which counter our team really well. Eventually we reached the director's office, and it wasn't actually until I talked to him that I remembered, oh god, this isn't the director. Turns out it's Petrol in disguise, and I was not ready for his team, which consists of a bunch of self-destructing coughings and wheezings. Thankfully, I can switch into Walnut, who has Protect, and so long as I time them correctly, I'm able to dodge the self-destructs, which is very useful to say the least. Wheezing does hit us though, and we get brought to 21 HP on Fortress. A combination of Heracross and Pincer's bulk and Ariados's priority move saves us in the end, as 4 of our Pokemon end up with below a quarter health and 2 of them are poisoned. That was terrifying. Thank God for Protect and our bulky Pokemon. That battle could have near ended us. While going underground, we run into Silver, who I forgot appears here. He leads with Golbat, and I led with Walnut, who's actually not a terrible option. Golbat goes for Confuse Ray on the first turn though, and we hit ourselves in Confusion immediately. He then uses Air Cutter, and another hit in Confusion brings us below half. Uh-oh. I have nothing I can switch into an Air Cutter, especially not a crit, and need to get some damage off if the Ariados Sucker Punch switch-in is to work. He uses Air Cutter again to bring us just 2 HP, but then we hit ourselves in Confusion for the 3rd turn in a row. Not only did we not snap out in 3 turns, but we also failed to get a single hit off in those 3 turns too. That is a devastating loss, as Fortress formed the defensive base of our entire team. 2 deaths on the board. I go into Flighty next and go for Ancient Power, which does 3/4, then he hits us with Air Cutter, no crit thankfully, and then we can take him out on the next turn. We also got a full stat boost from Ancient Power too, so Flighty is able to take out Magnemite, although he does get paralyzed and taken below half. Sneasel is able to be taken down with ease by Heracross, and Feraligatr is a 2-hit KO with Brick Break. Haunter is then an easy KO with our Jeffrey strategy. What an unfortunate loss. Could have been worse though, I suppose. Shuckle, welcome back to the team. The final Team Rocket executive is Archer, whose team is quite scary for us. He starts off with Houndour, and I decide to lead with Heracross, who's able to outspeed and 1-hit KO him with Brick Break. He sends out his Houndoom next, which outspeeds us and hits us with Fire Fang, bringing us to just 29 HP, and gets the burn. Since that lowers our attack as well, our Brick Break then isn't able to take him out. Not good at all. I'm forced to switch into Yanmega here, who takes a Fire Fang with just 32 HP left and also gets burned. Ancient Power thankfully does the job though, as we're left with just 9 HP after the burn. Coughing is then able to be taken down by Butterfree's Psybeams after being poisoned and brought below half. Man oh man, that was an unlucky battle, but after 2 very close calls, we've defeated Team Rocket for good. Now for our next encounter, I was thinking it was only available in the morning and at night, and I had been waiting for the nighttime, but realized that apparently it's also available at the Lake of Rage using the Headbutt trees. We eventually find it, a Venonat, catch it, and name it Floofy. Floofy has a careful nature, plus special defense, and minus special attack. That is brutal. I decide to deposit Shuckle for now and add Floofy to the team. After some crazy ice cave shenanigans, we arrive in Blackthorn City, the location of the 8th gym. This gym I know is going to be difficult, as dragons are super powerful. While grinding for the gym, I actually encountered Entei, who scared the hell out of me. I put him to sleep for the hell of it, and then he ran while sleeping. Since he was sleep running, he proceeded to run into a wall and die, and Ho-Oh was very mad. The end. During the grind, Heracross learns Close Combat, Pincer learns Swords Dance, and Venonat learns Stun Spore and Psybeam along with Signal Beam at level 35 since I held off on evolving it. Speaking of which, Venonat also evolves into Venomoth. It's time for the final gym leader, Claire, and one of the ones that I'm most scared about. I studied her team for a long time and I just couldn't come up with a surefire strategy. It all came down to her Kingdra, as one might expect, but I have a bit of a plan. Claire starts off with Gyarados with Intimidate, so I lead with Butterfree. I honestly thought that at 3 levels higher and with as much speed investment as we have, we'd outspeed, but Gyarados outspeeds us and hits us with Dragon Rage before we hit it with Sleep Powder. I decide to take the opportunity to switch into Yanmega and use super effective Ancient Power, secretly hoping we might get the full stat boost on everything. Unfortunately, our second Ancient Power just barely doesn't KO, which would have been okay if Butterfree outsped since we could have reset the sleep, but I have an opportunity to switch into Pincer here to try and set up since I know she'll use a Hyper Potion. We get the free switch off, Claire heals it up, and it stays asleep so we can go for Swords Dance. My calcs tell me that Thrash won't one-hit KO with Swords Dance, so I have to go with another one, and Gyarados wakes up and hits us with Dragon Rage, after which we can take it out. The sweep is set up now. I know she's going to send in Dragonair next since it has Fire Blast, although I do wish it was Kingdra in a sense. Dragonair also gets outsped and taken out, and I need Thrash to continue for the 3rd turn, but it doesn't, and we get confused. That ruins everything. Given our circumstances, I had to bank on either the stat boost on Yanmega or the 3-turn Thrash, but neither happened. Pincer now can't stay in, so I switch into Venomoth in the hope that she'll miss the Hydro Pump so we can put it to sleep on the next turn, but she doesn't. The luck is not with us today. I switch into Yanmega hoping for the miss again, but instead she goes for Dragon Pulse, which does slightly under half. I use Detect to get the speed boost and scout out whether or not she goes for Hydro Pump, as that would be a KO for sure, and it turns out she's still using Dragon Pulse, so I figure we can at least get some damage off and recover a bit with the Shell Bell to survive another Dragon Pulse. That way she's a KO with Heracross, because Heracross is just out of range to KO from full health with close combat. But her Dragon Pulse gets a critical hit and takes out Yanmega. No way. That was brutal. I was really banking on Yanmega for the league. I send in Heracross next, and Kingdra just goes for Smokescreen, after which a close combat is indeed able to take her out, even without the crit it would've. Dragonair is her last Pokemon, and close combat is able to do the job. Damn. Without that crit, we had a good chance of going through Deathless, but that Kingdra really had me dancing around, I'll say that much. All 8 badges obtained, 3 deaths on the board, and Shuckles back on the team to form our final party of 6. With that, I tried to head to Victory Road, but Lyra doesn't allow me, and she says, "Hi, Sylph. Where do you think you're going, Sylph?" "To the Pokemon League, Lyra, if you'd please." After a massive hour-long quest and ceremony to summon Ho-Oh, I run from it since it's angry at us for killing Entei, and the Kimono girls are not happy. All that work for nothing. Sorry, ladies. Victory Road is quite short in this game, and our rival battle went off without a hitch since he doesn't have Crobat yet. With that, we've reached the Pokemon League. I do thorough preparation, getting all of our Pokemon into the high 47s to max out the level cap, max out our EVs where possible, make sure to get a whole bunch of items like the Muscle Band and Focus Sash from our mom's savings. We didn't get the Choice Scarf though, unfortunately, the Life Orb from the Ruins of Alph, the Poison Barb from Frida, and the Black Belt from the Lake of Rage Dude. Unfortunately, as is often the case with bug types, a lot of their best moves are saved for later levels which we can't access, such as Heracross's Mega Horn at level 55, but hey, we're as well set up as we can be. It's time. Let's do this. The first Elite Four member is Will, the Psychic-type trainer. Now, one would imagine he'd be pretty easy with a Bug-type team, but his Zatus kind of throw a wrench in our plan. I decide our best course of action is to lead with Butterfree and hit the first Zatu with Sleep Powder. That way we can next switch into Pincer and set up with Swords Dance, who I put a Muscle Band on to increase the power of her physical moves. However, the Zatu wakes up immediately and hits us with Confuse Ray. Ruth makes it through with Swords Dance though, then Zatu hits us with Psychic for a bit less than half. Thankfully, Ruth snaps out of confusion on the next turn though and takes it out with X-Scissor. Since we outspeed the rest of Will's team, it's a clean sweep with Swords Dance boosted, Stab, and mostly super effective X-Scissor. That early wake up and confusion was dangerous though, that could have gone south real quick. Next up is Koga, the poison/bug type Elite Four member, who I'm pretty scared of since his whole team basically resists ours and has some big threats like Crobat. I spent a lot of time thinking about this battle and came up with a strategy I thought might be viable. Koga leads with Ariados, so I send out Butterfree to hit it with Stab super effective Sharp Beak boosted Gust to the yellow, and then he uses Spiderweb followed by a full restore, after which 2 more Gusts take him out. Now, although I knew Crobat would come out next, which seems like a run killer on the face of it, don't forget we now have Shuckle, who I put a Pecha Berry on in case he gets poisoned. Shuckle can absorb Crobat's moves quite well, and although Crobat starts using Double Team, as of Gen 4, Shuckle's Bide actually bypasses accuracy checks so it can't miss. This is a devious way to handle Crobat, and it takes a long time. The good thing is, although Crobat does way more damage to us than we do to it, we have Rest. Thankfully, we timed them right, being brought to just 14 HP at our lowest, and the stall works as the Crobat goes down to a final Bide after 4 minutes of craziness. Fortress comes out next, which is a huge wall for our team, but besides Explosion, all it can really do is use Swift for damage. It goes for Toxic Spikes, and I use Rest to heal us up. After a couple of turns, out of impatience, I actually sent out Heracross here, forgetting that he actually has Swarm, not Guts, like another one of our Heracrosses we've had, so the poison actually doesn't help us, and Brick Break does just below half. Unfortunately, Fortress uses Protect when I try to close combat to finish it off, and the poison is doing exactly 32 HP damage when we're left with 31 HP on the last turn. Damn, so close. I switch in Butterfree here, and a couple of Gusts are able to do the job. Venomoth comes out next, and because it has Supersonic, I go for Sleep Powder to be safe, and it hits us with Psychic before we can get it off, after which a couple of Gusts handle it. Muck is his last Pokemon, and I put it to sleep right away, knowing how dangerous it can be with Minimize. I switch into Floofy so we we can't get poisoned either and go for a Choice Specs boosted Psybeam for about 2/3 damage. He doesn't wake up on the final turn and we can take him out to defeat Koga. That was a lengthy process, but worth it as we had no deaths thanks to Shuckle. Definitely the MVP there. As the Shuckle saying goes, don't try to hurt Shuckle or he'll bite you to death with a club that has nails in it. That's how it goes, right? Bruno's up next, and he is a scary threat with Fire Punch, Blaze Kick, and Rock Slide. I spent 16 minutes studying his team and formulating a strategy, but nothing was clicking. Heracross with Aerial Ace would be great, but his lead Hitmontop has counter, and it was just out of range for the KO. Choice Specs Venomoth with Sludge Bomb was also just out of range for Hitmontop and Hitmonlee and would get hurt bad by those fire moves. Eventually, it occurred to me, Pincer can't get hurt that badly by Hitmontop overall, so I suppose we'll have to opt for Swords Dance and teach Pincer Return. I'm just hoping he has high friendship by now, as I have no idea. But we also have to get 2 off to ensure KOs. We just have to hope he doesn't get a crit, since he'll likely hit us 6 times with Technician boosted Triple Kick and could also go for priority Quick Attack afterward. We also have to hope that Hitmonlee doesn't outspeed us, since it does have a higher base speed, but we are a higher level. Thankfully though, it turns out Hitmontop just goes for Quick Attack, so we get our 2 Swords Dances off and can one-hit KO everything. As it turns out, we do also outspeed Hitmonlee and one-hit KO Onix with Brick Break and Machamp with Return as well. Wow. Lots of things had to fall into place there, and all our strategies were very close calls, but it paid off for sure. The last Elite Four member, Karen, has a Dark-type team, which is of course weak to us. She leads with Umbreon, which is too big of a threat with Confuse Ray to try and set up against, and Gengar would outspeed Pincer, and Pincer's only move that can affect it is X-Scissor, which even at +2 would do nothing since it's 4 times resisted. So I decide to lead with Heracross, who has Shadow Claw after all. With the Black Belt to increase the power of his super effective fighting moves, Heracross is able to one-hit KO Umbreon with Brick Break. Murkrow is outsped thankfully due to our higher level and EVs, and also gets taken out with Brick Break, and thankfully the same goes for Houndoom as well. Gengar comes out, which makes me very nervous, but it just goes for Spite, so it goes down to Shadow Claw. Vileplume is our final Pokemon, and I go for Aerial Ace, which brings it to a quarter, but it hits the stun spore to paralyze us and outspeeds us with a Petal Dance on the next turn, but we break through and KO it on the next turn. Solid. It's time for the champion. Lance's team is straight up terrifying for us. I strategized for a long time for this battle, but sort of like Claire except 10 times worse, there was no way around what we're facing, especially with no ice moves and a Charizard and Aerodactyl, both of which are super effective against us and outspeed everything on our team. With the best strategy I have in mind, it's time to go for it. Lance leads with Gyarados and I go with Butterfree. Immediately, Gyarados outspeeds us and hits us with an Ice Fang to 35 HP, but we get the Sleep Powder off. Dear lord, terrifying already. We make the switch into Pincer, who gets off 2 Swords Dances, and the Gyarados stays asleep so we can take it out with Return. Now, as per the order of his team, I was assuming Lance would send out Aerodactyl next, and he does indeed. My calcs tell me we can survive a Rock Slide. I was hoping it would miss actually, but it hits us and brings us down to 33 HP. We don't flinch and can take it down with a neutral Brick Break. But the inevitable moment is here, the Charizard switch. As fast as Pincer is, EV trained, and 85 base speed, I know he likely can't outspeed a 100 base speed Charizard. I decide to switch into Shuckle and go for our Bide strategy. Our Bide takes him below half, and at 49 HP, I know he's doing 22 HP with Air Slash, so I know we can survive 2 more and take him out so long as we don't get crit. But he misses his first one. This is actually terrible for us, as Bide then doesn't KO him and brings him into full restore range in addition to another hit. Since I know the full restore is coming, I can rest though, and we eventually wake up at 70 HP. 2 more Air Slashes bring us to 25 HP, our Shell Bell brings us to 36 HP, and here I know we're doomed. He hits us with Air Slash and now we're in easy KO range, but he switches it up and goes for Fire Fang, which lets us survive on literally 1 singular HP. What the hell was that? Unbelievable. I mean, we could have Sucker Punched Charizard anyway, but wow. Dragonite comes in, and inevitably we have to use Shuckle for one of the Outrage turns. Goodbye, Shuckle. What a legend he was. It was a very difficult decision as to who to bring out next, but I know I need to stall out the Outrage to confuse him, so I send in Ruth and just try to get as much damage off as I can with Return before getting taken out by Outrage. Ruth goes down, but crucially, Dragonite does not get confused. Oh no. A 3-turn Outrage is the worst thing in the world for us right now. I'm forced to switch into Heracross, who is likely the only one on our team who can survive one right now, and I hit him with Shadow Claw since I cannot put him into full restore range. It goes below half, but then its Citrus Berry activates and Outrage brings us to just 35 HP. Dragonite is now finally confused, so I'm desperately hoping he'll hurt himself in confusion, but he doesn't and takes us out with Outrage. How unlucky. A 3-turn Outrage, then a Confusion Breakthrough to take out Atlas. At this point, our best bet is Floofy, who I know can outspeed, and he's indeed able to take the Dragonite out with Choice Specs boosted Sludge Bomb. Lance has 2 Dragonites left, and I go for Sludge Bomb on the first one to below half, then it uses Thunder Wave. Not good, but I suppose not the worst either. Now here I completely forgot Lance's other Dragonites don't have Outrage, just Dragon Rush, and he actually misses and we can take him down with Sludge Bomb. I was thinking it was completely over since in my head they would just outrage our 3 remaining Pokemon. We would have survived if he hit anyway, it was all about breaking through paralysis there. His final Dragonite comes out and hits us with Dragon Rush to just 23 HP, we hit him hard with Sludge Bomb which also poisons, not that it matters at this point, and then his next Dragon Rush misses so the god himself Floofy can take him down. Wow. Even if Venomoth got taken down, we did have a Life Orb Ariados with priority Sucker Punch waiting, but my lord, Floofy wanted them all to feast on himself. What a beast. We've done it. HeartGold Hardcore Nuzlocke with only bug types complete, with 3 remaining Pokemon and 6 total deaths. What an adventure. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps out a lot and grows our community. A huge thanks to my YouTube members and patrons who make these videos possible. If you'd like to support for some cool perks and to get your name up here, the links are also down below. If you enjoyed, drop a like to help the video out and leave a comment letting me know what kind of run we should do next, and I'll see you guys for our next challenge video.